projects you're doing, you're usually out quite a bit. Where were you? Did it take away some work from you? Did you have to cancel some stuff?
I was in Australia doing my solo show, and I had 6 shows down there, I believe. I went to New Zealand and then Australia, and had 5 shows in Australia, and it started happening when we were in Australia. Our last show was in Perth, and we were seriously thinking about canceling and coming back because everybody was, the U.S. had already started talking about all the border issues, and then but we did the gig in Perth, which I'm really glad we did, because if anybody from Perth ends up listening to this, that was an amazing show, and we had a great time at that show. And we flew back after that, and basically we were within a day or two of the whole shutdown of Australia as well. So we made it in at the last minute.
And what about the schedule? I mean, everybody has had stuff blown out in terms of upcoming dates and gigs and what have you. I imagine you've had a lot of stuff cancel and postpone already that was on the docket.
Yeah. Gigs for this month, May and June into July. We're moving everything back to October, November, December, and some stuff into next year. So, I mean, I've been seeing all the big summer tours just completely either canceling or postponing. So same thing's happening with us. The first gigs I have that haven't been canceled or postponed are in June, but I mean, it's a day by day issue that is changing by the hour.
Now that I'm talking to you, because, I've had this happen myself with my own schedule, because, as you know, I see you on the road all the time, and we do a lot of the same sort of gigs and show up in a lot of the same places and what have you. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I have a gig scheduled in June, and I think was hosting your show, the Warehouse Live gig in Houston. I think you guys were on that. Were you scheduled to play in Houston? Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, on the 12th.
June 12th. And I'm looking at the listing right now. It says Winger, John Corabi, Bullet Boys, Eddie Trunk. So there you go.
It is.
We have a date, all of us, on June 12th in Houston. And I mean, right now, I'm assuming it's still happening, but I don't know.
It's not. I just got an email today that they're moving it to, drum roll.
Gee, I hope I'm available.
Exactly.
Nobody told me. Well, that's what happens when you're fourth billed. You're the last to know.
October 2nd. Are you available?
I'll check my schedule. I think I am, Kip, because I think everybody's available right now because there's nothing happening. I mean, It's crazy. All right, well then that's good to know. October 2nd.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation because that was like a 3 in a row for us. So you get the middle gig blown out, and then you got to figure out how to deal with the stuff. So I can't imagine what promoters for the big concerts are going through right now. It's like a bloodbath out there, man.
Yeah, it really is, because you have stuff that was probably scheduled to happen in the fall anyway, and now you're compacting that with people trying to move into the fall, and then you don't know, because if things flare up again in certain places and the weather starts to get cool in the fall, that we start to get locked down again. So it's impossible to figure out. And look, I feel for a lot of the artists, yourself included, that make their living on the road and touring, and also the crews. I mean, all the crew people, the people that work at these venues, the people behind the scenes. I mean, it's incredibly difficult for them right now across the board.
It is. The entertainment business is, first one's out, last one's in for all of this kind of stuff. So, I think a lot of artists are being super creative with the live stream stuff, and I'm going to start doing it. There's a website called Stage It that a lot of people are doing stuff on. I'm going to hop on there and do some stuff. And I think it's an adapt and overcome situation, to be honest with you, because like just what you said before, nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going on here and how long it'll last.
Yeah, I was talking to you just before we went on the air here, and I was saying that I just literally just hung up the phone with a producer who is working on an idea to do live streams, a couple shows a week, live from a studio. And, he was talking to me about having some involvement in it. And I mean, I don't know if people will pay to watch a band perform live on their computers or their phones. I mean, right now, a lot of people are doing it for fun and to stay connected to their audience, which I get, but I just don't know when someone makes that move to put up a paywall, especially since everybody's paying for various monthly services as it is. Will they pay $10 for the family to sit around and watch an hour concert from someone? You would hope they would, because it would be really helpful to the artist, but I just don't know if that's a viable business model or not. What are your thoughts on it?
It's difficult to say. I've talked to a couple people who are doing it pretty successfully, and
by charging money.
Yeah, well, one guy I talked to, Andy Timmons, he's been doing them. He just started doing them, and he's not charging an admission. It's a tip situation. If you want to give it, if people give him a tip or something, and maybe there's like a small pay and to get on it, but it seems to be working nice for him. There's a couple other people I've seen. I read an interview an article in the Wall Street Journal about a band that had 10 million viewers on a live stream where they were just going to go to Boston and do some gigs, and this all came down, and they ended up just doing a live stream, and they had 10 million viewers on it. So, for some people, I think it's working. I think it just depends on it, what your fan base is like.
Yeah, and I know Andy. He's a brilliant guitar player, man. He's amazing. People may know Andy because he was in Danger back in the day, but he's long removed from that, doing solo guitar work, and he's a monster player. So
yeah, and he played with Simon Phillips. I mean, he played on all my solo albums. I mean, for me, Andy Timmons. I mean, I love Reb Beach because he's my partner, and Reb's amazing. I just think Andy he's one of my, I mean, let's just put it this way. He is like in my top 3 favorite guitar players of all time. This guy's incredible.
Yeah, really more people should know about him. I've watched a lot of his stuff. I saw him last year at NAMM play. It's just mind blowing. He's just a great player.
Yeah. You know who was mind blowing on the cruise was Richie Kotzen, man.
Well,
his set just blew me away, and his bass player, unbelievable. Drummer too. It was a great set.
Yeah, Mike and Dylan. Yeah, they're amazing. But Richie. I mean, I've said many times for years now, all round talent. Richie is one of my favorite players, singers. I mean, the guy's just ridiculous. I mean, I don't know if you know this. He turned 50 recently, and he put out an album of 50 brand new songs that he wrote, performed, and recorded himself. He's like Prince for rock music. It's ridiculous.
That is amazing.
And speaking of performances, and Richie is part of this. Let's talk about what you have just released, and talking about virtual and how everybody is sort of figuring out and adapting and coming up with ways to do videos. You have put out just over the weekend a brand new version of the song Better Days Comin', which of course is fitting and uplifting for the times that we're in. So tell me how this came together, because I think it's really cool what you did.
I appreciate that. And yeah, Richie did a little bit on the end singing that was unbelievable. Yeah. We were just sitting around going, what can we do? Let's do something and do something for the fans. And maybe we were talking about, because I had done some Facebook Lives, and I was thinking, how can I get my band involved in this? And we were thinking what song to do. And Better Days Comin' was just an obvious message for what's going on right now. So we said, okay, I'm gonna Rod, set your iPhone up, and Rod's not Mr. Technical, so we're like, okay, Rod, set your iPhone up and face your drums, man, and just jam off the part and send it to us. So we started with Rod, and then John and Paul Skyped about their parts, and then they played live to Rod, and then I put my part on, and then we just kept singing the chorus. We're like, oh my God, we got to get fans in on this. So we did a fan shout out for people to send in their video singing the chorus. And we were overwhelmed with an incredible response. We got so many videos, and we did our best to get them all in there. And then I thought, gee, I wonder if a couple of my friends would sing on this. So I think actually Richie was the first one I contacted, and Richie was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And I was like, "Really? You'll do it? That's amazing. Okay, cool. So who else can we get?" And I thought, man, it'd be amazing if I got Alice Cooper. Sure, we'll do. Alice put a line in, and then my buddy Mark Farner from Grand Funk, and then I thought, God, I wonder if Alan Parsons will do this. And sure enough, he came back. Yeah, absolutely. And then I asked you, if you would be on, and it just went from there. I got Jeff Scott Soto and Steve Whiteman, Michael Starr from Steel Panther, Malenko Matievich from Steelheart, Don Crash from Heat, Fiona, Danny Vaughn, Robert Mason, Terry Alous, Tony Harnell. I mean, it's quite a lot. Mark Hudson and Klaus Mine.
Klaus.
Yeah.